All right, so we are here with the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Marzullo. He is the owner of Gas Motor Cars. If anybody is in Atlanta, you know that this is one of the primo spots to buy your luxury or exotic car. I mean, just take a look around at what we got here. And I want to thank you for coming on to the pod, Tony. Appreciate you being on.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, so we were just talking about before we started on the pod a little bit about you just got back from Monterey, right?
I was at Monterey, shortest trip. I've been going since '09. This was my shortest trip ever.
Yeah.
So it was nice to go. Normally I'm there like 8 to 10 days and I'm working sun up to sundown,
Mm-hmm.
either representing clients' cars that are for sale or representing buyers or buying stuff for here for inventory or stuff to collect. And this particular year I went as a guest of another company. So we
Okay.
actually were just there to enjoy ourselves and eat and drink and go to the events, more like a spectator than on a work capacity. So it was great.
Yeah. So
Good
not
trip.
all the companies that are there, like for example, the company that you went with this time, are they involved in the car industry too? Or
Nah, this
yeah, that's what I was
was
wondering.
a strategic alliance partnership that sponsors a lot of the events.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a last minute deal. In fact, I wasn't even for the first time in since '09. I wasn't even going to go to Monterey this year.
Uh-huh.
We had some cars that we had discussed taking to sell, uh, as far back as last year, but we really got serious about having conversations in January and February and into March. And pretty much March, April's your deadline to say, I'm bringing X, Y, and Z. And then the auction companies will discuss with you what the reserves are, if they're going to run at no reserve,
Got it.
what your level of expectation is. And I personally did not feel it was going to be the best market to sell some of the assets that we have here. So
Gotcha.
we manage a lot of private car collections, and then we
Sure.
have our own cars here that we own that
Okay.
are kind of like an investment fund.
Is it like 50-50-ish with cars that you have on?
It's a mix. There's some cars in this room I own with one person. There's some
Mm-hmm.
cars in here that three people own.
Okay.
There's cars that I own all by myself. It's a mix of stuff.
Okay.
And I just didn't get the best sense or the best feeling that the market this particular summer was going to be great for the specific for the assets that we were considering selling. So we'll
Gotcha.
wait till next year. We'll wait and see. We had elections coming up. It's a lot of crazy geopolitical stuff going on right now, and
So how does that, so for people that are watching, right? People that aren't really familiar with the industry, how does all this geopolitical stuff affect cars?
specific to a specific brand, Range Rover right now is having a material shortage because one of the plants that produces their raw materials is in Ukraine and got bombed.
Wow.
Okay. There are certain entities in Asia that are focusing more now on self-defense and building tanks than they are on building on microchips.
Hmm.
Similar to what happened during COVID, right?
Right.
So everything pivoted at the beginning of the pandemic, and they went from making airbag chips to making chips for computers and Zoom calls and flat screen TVs and Peloton bikes, right? So like
Right.
being fluid with what was going on around the world.
Right.
And with cars, with instability politically and the chance that there could be another war or material shortages, supply chain interruptions, people get nervous. And also, in my objective opinion, I'm not an economist by any chance. I have a political science degree from University of Florida. Basically, all I could do with that degree was teach or go to law school or sell cars.
Yeah.
So I chose to sell
So you
cars.
chose to sell cars.
So the optics right now, once talking more of the political thing, the optics right now of spending money are not as cool as it
Right.
may have would have been a couple of years ago. And I don't care what side of the aisle you sit, left, right, middle, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You have an employee that asks for a raise, but you go out and spend 800 and plus $1,000 on a ridiculous Ferrari or Lamborghini at Pebble Beach, and
Yeah.
the whole thing's live cast.
Yeah.
Like, and so your employees can sit there and watch you buying this car, but you're telling them they can't have a raise. So the
Yeah.
optics of spending money, at least in my opinion, it wasn't as cool to buy cool stuff
I see what you're
this
saying.
year. And so I felt that it wasn't the best time to sell, so we didn't sell. So
Okay.
this was the first year I went out to Pebble, and I just basically enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to the Quail, I went to the exotics on Broadway, I went to all the auctions, just more of a spectator. We tried to buy a couple of cars,
Hmm.
but there's years I've gone, like last year I went where I could not come home without like these six cars. Like we had six cars on a list for two separate clients, they were basically like, I don't care what they go for. You
I
have
want
to,
this
I
car.
want this car. It has to come
Okay.
home with you. This
Dang.
year, a lot of those exact same clients, which are completely unaffected by anything economic, like they are recession proof
Mm-hmm.
types of clients,
Mm-hmm.
but the optics of them buying these types of cars just
Right.
didn't seem to fit. So I didn't have to represent any customers this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun.
Okay.
It was like fun just going out there and hanging out.
But so when you were there, there had to have been like one car where you were just, wow, I know I'm here for fun, but damn, I kind of really want to get this car.
I have been anti EV for quite a while
Same.
until you see the Remac in action.
Oh, are you
When you
serious?
see a Remac do a controlled drift in front of you, we did a ride and drive. It's
Hmm.
it's pretty impressive. So
Really?
that was one of them. The new stuff, I like custom and unique cars too.
Yeah.
So the Tuts Hill 911 project cars,
Okay.
red line at 11,000 RPMs, they were unreal. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like bucket list to get one of these at one of
I
these. Yeah,
know.
right. The new Singer stuff coming
I was
out,
just about to ask you
unreal.
that.
The new Gunter Work stuff, unreal.
Oh,
Um,
have you sold any of those cars? Like the Singers or the Gunther Works or
we've
anything?
sold one Singer since I've been in the business 27 years. I've never transacted a Gunter Work, and I've never until the Quail event, I'd never even sat in a Tut Hill car.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, I mean,
The Singers are a million plus, right?
the Singers, the when we actually sold a car to their chief marketing officer like 10 years ago.
Right.
And I flew out to LA and I saw their facility. They let me drive one with 3.8 liter car.
Oof.
And I'm like, and they were 450 grand back then. I'm like, it's worth
Yeah.
every penny. And I think now the
100%.
base is like 600 and change,
Yeah.
and they can go all way above a million.
And usually they do.
They do. But then on the secondary market, a couple of them did transact at the
Okay.
auctions. So the secondary market for Singer, because it's such a long wait list to get one, the
Hmm.
secondary market is probably double your initial acquisition cost. So 1.2, 1.3 million.
Right.
And a lot of people ask me like, dude, is it worth it? I'm like, yeah, it's
You
worth
say
every penny.
yeah?
Yeah, I've driven it. Every penny. To me, it's
Are
worth
you
it.
serious?
It's unreal. It's
That's
it.
crazy.
But I'm a different animal. Like what you and I were talking about before we were recording this was like
Yeah.
a complete realignment of the collector car market. And then look, I watch all the YouTubers and all the blogs, and I listen to a lot of the other podcasts that were all what their takeaway was from Monterey, right? And
Yeah.
it is the beginning of a realignment of who's collecting cars. So the buyers are much younger,
Okay.
and these kids, I'm
Hmm.
47, so these kids that are in their 30s, they want what they couldn't have when they graduated high school or college, or they want
Yeah.
the car that their dad had, when they were growing up as a kid because they're liquid and they can buy it now at a much
Right.
younger age. Like, at 34, I couldn't go spend 2 million bucks on a car.
Right.
But you've got a lot of the new tech money and the crypto guys and people that are just, bootstrapped and had these ideas of these companies that have turned into these mega
Mega.
multi-billion-dollar companies like WhatsApp and stuff like that. Like
Sure.
it's insane. So they're younger and they're buying the stuff that they couldn't have when they were kids. And that's what was hot, right? The
Hmm.
stuff that wasn't hot was the stuff that like my dad who's passed away, he would be 82.
Hmm.
Like we didn't see record numbers for 300 SL Gullwing Mercedes or 275 four cam Ferraris or any of the four cam Porsches. And in that market appeared to be soft because I think less people were buying it.
Yeah.
And the stuff that we saw, there were some modern Lamborghinis, LP640 gated manual
Hmm.
at RM, set an auction. I knew that car. I've known that car a long time, and I've watched it go up in value. And I regret not buying it when I could have bought it for a third what it sold for.
Yeah.
Um, some of the rare Porsches, like the roof Porsches, set records.
Hmm.
Uh, in my opinion, analog, three pedals, and rare,
Yep.
and built anytime past 1990 was
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
Anything prior to that, in my opinion, was just kind of cold.
So you're saying like these new buyers that are entering into the market, if we could put it in perspective of Lamborghini, for example, it's kind of shifting as that entry point of, okay, I want this car, kind of shifting from being, okay, I'm the guys that would go and buy a Countach, for example, or anything before that. Now it's kind of shifting into, Murcielago territory
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
Diablo,
Diablo.
Murcielago, and even some of the rare Aventadors.
Yeah.
The Countach is, because you mentioned it,
Hmm.
is what I would call a blue chip collectible. I think for perpetuity for the rest of any of our lives and our kids' lives, I think
Hmm.
the Countach will be the missing piece of the puzzle that completes somebody's car collection,
Why do you say
right?
that?
Just because it's the first of its, it was the first, it wasn't the first, technically the first supercar was the Miura, but the
Right?
Countach was like the first like shock, like
Yeah.
holy shit,
Just the silhouette.
look what they could do with a car. So different, right? So like that car right there is
Yeah.
an 81, low body,
No wing.
no wing, super rare. I think 106 total were built. Out of the
Mhm.
106, only 14, 15 maybe were low bodies like that. And to our knowledge, that's the only silver one. So like
Wow.
that's going to be that car's not for sale right now, but when that car goes up on the market, that's going to complete somebody's collection. So even a younger guy who's got a Murcielago and an Aventador and a Diablo SV or an SC30 Diablo, he's going to want that just because it's like
Finishing.
it completes the collection. So the same guy that has the Enzo,
Yeah.
because that's his first supercar that he remembers,
Hmm.
he probably will, and if he can afford it, will want an F50 and an F40, which both also set record prices at Pebble this year,
For
right?
sure.
And he may eventually want to go into like a 288 GTO,
Yeah.
but he might not want a 2754 cam or a 250 Lusso because it's just before his time.
Yeah. Before it's time.
Um, so like we're changing. I think the import market too, the JDM cars,
Hmm.
like when I was a kid, I mean, I graduated high school in 96 and 95. My best memory was driving my buddy's dad's twin turbo Supra.
Yeah.
Like it was like euphoric. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's only
Yeah.
320 horsepower. So it's actually by today's standard, the car wasn't even fast.
Slow.
But back then when I used to jump into RX-7s
I know.
and Supras and Mitsubishi 3000 GTs, like I have good, like crystal clear memories of almost dying in those cars as a teenager, right? So like that we'll probably start seeing those cars really start to, and they've already gone up,
A
but we're going to
Mitsubishi
really see.
3000 GT? Well, they're probably like
They're
what,
not
20,
good
30,
cars. The ones
20,
that are
30
still
grand?
running, yes. The ones
20.
that are still actually running and driving 3000 GTs, I think will become valuable.
Yeah.
Or even the Eclipse,
Yeah.
and some
I
of
mean, even the S2000s, they're in the 20 grand, like
we
20
just
grand
bought we
ballpark,
just bought
23.
a high mileage one. We paid over 20,000 for it, and
Yeah.
we sold it for 19 retail. It
Wow.
as a dealer. We sold it for 19 like
That's
a couple
crazy.
years ago. Yeah, so they're going up, and that's a car that most enthusiasts can afford. It's not an expensive car to buy,
Right.
and it's not an expensive car to own. And it's the ownership experience is magic. Like they drive great,
I
like they
know.
sound good, they go good, and God forbid if they break, they're not crazy expensive to
Yeah.
fix. I've had buddies of mine that's bucket list car was a, once I'm a little older, so Magnum PI car. Like I gotta get a 308. So like I've heard so many horror stories of the guys that when they finally could afford it, they wanted to get their dream car as a kid, which was like the Magnum PI Ferrari 308.
Hmm.
They're not crazy expensive to maintain, but they're certainly not inexpensive to maintain, right?
Right.
Whereas now a younger demographic that always wanted an S2000, they can buy one. If it breaks, it's not expensive to fix. Like
Yeah.
it's still a Honda, and they don't really break a lot. So,
Yeah.
we're seeing them. To my point from a few minutes ago, we are seeing a realignment of what collectors are buying,
Right.
and a lot of our clients as they've gotten older, because we manage a lot of car collections. I have clients that have cars they don't even know they own because they've been buying for 30 or 40 or 50 years,
Just
right?
stacking up.
They don't even have time to drive this stuff anymore.
So what do they do with it?
Just stare at it and pay me to tell them when to get it serviced and when to sell it and you know uh, when to get certain items done. Like I keep up on all the trades, right? Like I'm on all the forums constantly, or I'm reading trade journals and magazines, and certain issues arise, even like 458 Ferraris, which are relatively modern, right? Like, so now that they're 12 years old or 15 years old, we're seeing in the early 2010s and 2011s and some of the 2012s, like stuff's breaking that's not that's not inexpensive to fix, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going in and saying like, hey, John Smith, your 2011 458, has X amount of miles and the speed sensor has never been addressed. We probably want to look into that.
Yeah.
And that's just a known issue. Just like IMS bearings, which it took a few years to figure it out on Porsche cars, that after a certain amount of years, there were certain years for the 996 and the 997 Porsches that were not necessarily high risk for intermediate shaft bearing or the lubrication system for it to fail, which would then hand grenade the motor. So, we're consulting. We're like, look, you've got this car, and this car, and based off the records, or at least what you provided to me, I can't see you've done certain things. So we're making recommendations of fix it, drive it, or sell it.
Hmm.
It's one or the other. Like
So they're
just
paying you for those like consultations,
yeah. I mean,
like in general, because
yeah, they're
when the
paying us.
transaction happens.
I can't say how or what. Every client's differently is a different structure, right? So
Hmm.
for me to go to a client's home and explain to them what they have, I don't necessarily charge them for that, but I do expect that when it comes time for the disposition of the asset, I'm going to get paid to sell it,
Sure.
or or I'll have first right of refusal to buy it. So
Right.
that's kind of where we make our money. And they
Yeah,
make
for
money
sure.
on the buying side, we make money on the selling side. We don't make money both.
Hmm.
So we're representing a seller. The seller pays us a commission when we sell it. The
Yeah,
guy
yeah, yeah.
buying us the car doesn't pay us a fee.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Likewise, if somebody comes in here, which we had a guy came in the other day,
I mean, the consulting is just building a relationship with them the whole time.
we want the relationship. We also want to sleep well at night. So I want to make sure that if they're not in the everyday habit of buying and selling cars, they shouldn't be out buying and selling cars.
Right.
Like I have an account that does my taxes because I could do them. I just don't know how. So I let
Yeah.
somebody else do it. So if they employ us to go acquire their bucket list dream car, we just make sure that if they just, not that, if it turns out that it was just a dream, and 6 months after they bought their bucket list dream car, like it didn't actually check all the boxes that they thought it was going to be, we're going to have to get it back. So we got to make sure it's a good car, and that we're going to be able to remarket the car and feel comfortable and confident selling it to somebody else. So that's where we get involved, doing a tremendous amount of due diligence, making sure that whatever they're buying is a good car. And in our industry, there's, you know, really well-known good guys, and then there's some pretty shady guys too. So
Yep.
we try to just work with the good guys.
Yeah, no, 100%. I
And
think I approach my relationships with my clients that way too, because I kind of said this the other day to a friend of mine, is that whenever we're transacting cars, you can't think of me as like, okay, I'm just getting you this one car. I'm treating your garage and the cars that are in your garage almost like a business plan, right? It's a business plan for the future, because these guys are just thinking about, most guys in the, if you're not too familiar with cars, you're mainly just thinking of that purchase price today. You're not taking depreciation and things like that into consideration. You're not taking spec and stuff into consideration unless you're a really big car guy and you're involved in the
yeah,
industry, you know?
you got to buy the right cars. I mean, there's a couple of like overused terms that I literally on the phone every day. I'm either texting it or I'm having a verbal conversation with somebody. There's one saying when it comes to exotics cars: the cheapest exotic you buy today will be the most exotic you own tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if the average market value for a Murcielago LP640 is $235,000, and you find one on Facebook Marketplace for 180, we're going to advise against it because it's probably going to need a lot of work, right?
Yep.
And there's another thing I learned. I'm still active, but I used to be super active in the Porsche club and the Porsche community. And a guy told me like 25 years ago, he goes, "You don't ever order a Porsche for yourself. You order it for the next guy." So
Damn.
spec it the right way, like get the right
Wow.
options out of the gate. So we do order a tremendous amount of cars for our existing clients as well. So they get allocated, the coolest of cool
Hmm.
992 GT3 RSs, or 296 GTS Ferraris, or 812 GTSs, or anything that's hard to get. Even a G Wagon, for example.
Yeah.
They're like, look at this one I built. Check out how I spec this car online. I'm like, all right, great. You got yellow outside, black seats, yellow stitching, but you picked wood instead of carbon fiber.
Right.
Trash,
What
start
are we
over.
doing?
Yeah, like get black, get black over red,
Carbon.
get carbon fiber. If it's an AMG, it needs to have carbon fiber trim. If it's a 992 Porsche Turbo S, get Burmester. Because
You
when
have
we go to sell it, everybody's going to ask, does it or does it not have Burmester? Hey, I'm calling about the 992 Turbo S you have. It's like, yes. Does it have Burmester? No. Click.
click.
Just get the right option. So once again, you're not getting it for yourself, you're getting it for the next owner. Like, I could care less. I don't listen to the radio when I'm driving my Porsches. I listen
Right.
to the exhaust.
Right.
But I know in the last few new Porsches that I personally ordered, I've spec them out with Burmester, suspension lift, and comfy seats.
And how many times do you come across a client, they're either building a car or doing something or buying a new car, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep this car for 5, 10 years,"
Every
and
day.
then they get rid of it in like a year or two.
We have running bets. We have running bets on some of our clients where it's not even years. It's like a 90-day over under.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
we have multiple clients where we just have like a running pool in the office. Like,
yeah,
here's the amount of money that he's going to sell that car within 90 days.
yeah,
So once again, we can't overcharge him for the car because we're going to have to buy it back.
yeah.
So we do everything with us is, or what makes gas motor cars different than a lot of other people in our industry is we're very open book, very transparent. So
Okay.
I have zero issues with an existing or a new potential client showing them like, look, this is what I paid for the car. This
Hmm.
is what it cost me to ship the car here.
Right.
This is what service cost. This is what tires and brakes cost. We put PPF and ceramic coating on the car. That's what my cost. That's what I own it for. That's my profit margin. That's your price.
Yep.
Non-negotiable, period.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to transact with us, and that does happen here often where somebody will look at everything I've just provided them
Hmm.
and still make us an offer for less than what I have invested in the car. That's not who we want as a customer. Like
No, yeah,
the inception of a relationship, it's not a good relationship if our first transaction is me losing money to make you feel better about buying a car.
yeah,
That's not the right fit for us. So
right.
with us, it's a relationship deal. We want to, I want to sell somebody not one make a bunch of money. I want to sell them 25 cars over the next 25 years and make a
100%.
little bit of money every time. And we've got generational clients. So I've got clients now where maybe I sold an X3 BMW
Hmm.
to somebody in 2004, a
Yeah.
younger couple. And then I sold their daughter their first car. And now their daughter is about to have a baby and I'm upgrading that to
Dude, I
a
love
bigger
those stories.
SUV. It's generational and we know them. Like, we have this kind of cool organic relationship with a lot of our clients where they've become friends. Like I had like half of my wife and I, like our social life,
Yeah,
half of it are my clients. Like
that's
we
awesome.
travel with them, we go to dinner with them, like they go to events with us. Like I'm big into philanthropy. So,
Yeah,
we're active with the Shepherd Center and High Museum Wine Auction. I was on the board of directors for Special Olympics for almost 20 years.
that's
So
awesome.
every time we'd have a big event, and I've got a table for 12, I'm usually inviting 6 friends and 6 clients, but the clients that I'm inviting are
Your
clients that we
friend.
want to hang out with. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like it's fun doing that. Like eh, however, like, so, here I am on a Saturday night, drinking and raising money for a charity with client X, right?
Hmm.
That following Monday, there's a good chance that he comes in and says, hey man, my wife and I talked about it on Sunday, and I think it's time to sell the Ferrari that we bought last year.
Right.
So it has to go from like, I have to be able to marry that kind of social fun part to
Hmm.
talking business. And then
Like
when it
that's
comes to Monday, this is what you paid for it. This is the current market. This is what I'm going to
right.
charge you to sell it. If it's a consignment car, that's plan A. If
Hmm.
you don't want to wait around for consignment and you want me to write you a check, this is what I'm going to sell it for.
Got it.
Subtract a certain percentage, and that's what I'm writing you a check for.
Okay.
And I'll take it on and buy it and take my chance of selling it. When it's consignment, we're kind of on the same team, right? So like the more I
Yeah.
get, the more you get, everybody
Right.
wins. If it's what I like to call arbitrage, where I'm buying a car to resell for profit,
Hmm.
then it's pretty transparent what I'm going to try to make on the car. There's no gray area. So
Right.
we get it checked out, make sure that you've maintained it properly. You've you've done your part. You've taken care of the car that you're bringing us back that we sold you a year ago. And if
Right.
everything works out, then it works out for all of us.
Right. Yeah.
So pretty easy stuff.
I do want to shift lanes a little bit here and dive into your story a bit because I've known you through the grapevine and I finally met you not too long ago. But I want to know your story. Like, where did you are you from Georgia? Like, how did you get
I
into the
was
car business?
born 15 minutes from here in Austell, Georgia, at Cobb Hospital. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, my dad was an entrepreneur. He was in home health care and pharmacy.
Okay.
But I was, born and raised here in Atlanta.
Okay.
I went to college in Florida with full aspirations of being some sort of professional, whether it was
Hmm.
going to be an attorney or a doctor or go get an MBA. And um, I was a terrible athlete as a kid because I can't see. So for me, cars were my only hobby.
Okay.
So my dad and my brother were both gearheads. We went to car shows. We had all the car magazines in the 80s, Road and Track, Car and Driver. Um, Even had one that was like, it was called Auto Week.
Yeah.
It was a weekly magazine. It was like paper thin.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Got it probably 10 years ago is when I probably finally canceled the subscription to that. And would get excited to go to car shows. Like they used to have the big Atlanta Auto Show
Yeah, I
at the
remember.
World Congress Center, right? That was a big deal.
My dad and brother used to go to that too.
And that was like, to me, that was as exciting as the Super Bowl because I didn't have an appreciation for sports as much as a kid because I was not a good athlete.
Yeah, yeah,
So I got into cars. I was a bit of a dork. And I've got a very controlled ADD, they call it.
yeah.
Like I can multitask and get hyper focused on stuff that I'm interested in. And if I'm interested in it, I
Same.
memorize it.
Same.
So as I'm reading all these car magazines as a kid, I'm pretty much memorizing everything I'm reading.
Yep.
So people will pull up here in some random obscure late 90s Porsche and I can start like reciting off option codes and paint codes and
Mm-hmm.
option codes and all these other kind of things. Like, how the hell do you know all this stuff? I'm like,
Yeah.
I just remember what I read.
Yeah.
So after graduating college, I came back to Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
with full intention of going to some sort of graduate school, but I needed to get a summer job.
Okay.
So I opened up the AJC Classifieds newspaper
Okay.
and a help wanted section, A auto.
A auto.
First section was, hey, I'm like, cars, yeah. And there
Okay.
was an ad that said, make up to 100K a year. And at 22 years old, that sounded pretty badass.
And what year was this?
This was in 2000.
2000. Pretty good money.
And I called the first one, which was Carl Black,
Mm-hmm.
Pontiac, Buick, Isuzu, and GMC in Roswell, Georgia.
Zuzu.
Went to the interview, like suit and tie, like
Okay.
ready to go. I think I even had a briefcase. And it was like game on.
Mhm.
And I got the job and I thought that was like a massive accomplishment at the time. And then I found out
100%.
many years later that anybody can get a job selling cars.
Okay.
And you could make $100,000 a year in
And didn't
any
have to,
industry
and you
if
didn't
you're
have to
working
pull up.
100 hours a week.
Yeah, you didn't have to
So,
pull up with the briefcase, huh?
so I went through training with them and I had some great mentors that I'm actually still close with to this day.
That's awesome.
And they kind of taught me the ropes and taught me the business. And I really liked it. So
Yeah.
to me, making money and having fun was not really work, right? You say if you're having fun, you're not technically working. And I started at the early stage of my career with this same organic relationship-based selling. Like I was not there to sell cars.
100%.
I was there to provide information and facilitate the sale.
Exactly.
So I was not selling, but I was giving them probably too much information. So I was killing them with product knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be like, yeah, this guy really knows his stuff. And
Yeah.
he's being honest. He's actually telling me there's certain things that are actually bad about the car. And
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And so these clients would then come to us and say, like, look, I know you don't sell Mercedes, but my wife is turning 50 and we really enjoyed our experience getting
With
our
you.
GMC Denali. Can you help us get a Mercedes as well? And so I would help them go find cars.
Even while you were at that A auto.
Oh, I was still working for Carl Black.
Okay.
It's been long enough now where they can't come after me. I don't think I had a non-compete either, but so yeah, while I was technically employed by a car dealership, I was helping customers on the side
Mm-hmm.
fulfill their other needs because I wasn't a Mercedes dealer, right?
Yeah.
And the straw that broke the camel's back, what made me go into business for myself, first it was my wife, because she was at the time girlfriend. She's like, we have no social life because you go to work at 7 in the morning, you come home at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So you got to either work smart or figure something out.
Dude, I've
And
faced the same challenges.
so I had a customer that came in at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, like a random Thursday, pouring rain.
Mm-hmm.
And he walks into the showroom and he said, hey, I saw on the internet that you have a Volvo station wagon. I've got to go home with this car.
Okay.
Or my wife says I can't come home. So I did a just let Jesus take the wheel approach to that. So I immediately just turned him over to the sales manager, which
Okay.
we're kind of trained to do at the time anyways.
Yeah, TO.
So correct, turnover. And before I knew it, the guy had bought a car and like the sales manager pulls me aside. He's like, you have no idea what commission you just got, but he's like, it's huge. It's record setting. I was like, okay, cool.
On a Volvo station.
On a Volvo wagon. So I drive the car to the gentleman's home. The wife is ecstatic. She's, oh my God, I'm crying. This is exactly what I wanted. Thank you, honey. Everybody's happy.
Okay.
I didn't know what my commission was till like the following day. I get back the next day and I was like, that's a serious commission.
Really?
So and this is no car dealership is a nonprofit, right? You're there to make money, but this is kind of what pushed me over the edge. And that this particular sales manager was, to be clear, not one of my mentors.
Okay.
Uh, and he kind of was the reason why. And he's no longer even in the business, probably for part of that reason, because he just didn't do some really. So he just did some, in my opinion, some pretty sleazy things.
Sure.
He had a customer that was completely at his mercy. Had to get the car, right? Didn't ask about the finance rate, didn't ask about the cost of the warranty, gap insurance. I mean, so they literally just clobbered this guy.
Okay.
And he did, and he kind of did it to himself and respected. He went in with, I need the payment to be X.
Yep.
So they worked backwards from that payment, and they overcharged him, inflated the interest rate, and they made a fortune on the deal, and I had a great commission. That part was great. Well, a month later, that same guy shows back up at the dealership. He says, "Hey, I lost my job, and I have a child with special needs, and his therapy alone and his medications are like $30,000 a month, and our insurance won't cover it. So I got to get rid of this Volvo. So can you help me?"
Dude.
I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." Once again, I was 23 years old, 22 years old. I didn't know that much about the backside of the business. Sure, let me get the used car manager to come appraise it.
Right.
Used car manager appraise it. Guy's $18,000 in negative equity. And I had to tell him that. And it was just like, it was like going into like a medical waiting room or a hospital waiting room, like telling somebody that their loved one didn't survive a surgery, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, you owe 48, it's worth 30." And he was devastated. He said, "Well, what are my options? What can I do?" I'm like, I don't know. And so a little bell went off in my head. I was like, "Well, let me see what I can do to help this guy. Maybe I can sell the car for him."
Interesting.
So I said, "Hey, you're going to be a little inconvenienced, but I think I can cut this delta by more than half if I sell it for you."
Retail it for
So I literally drove it home, put it out on Auto Trader,
you. Mm-hmm.
and sold it for him.
Wow.
And he had to write a check for like $8,000, not $18,000, but he got out of his car.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when the light went off where I was like, "Look, I didn't charge him." So I
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like, maybe I can start charging people to help them buy and sell cars, right? To objectively consult them. And so I quit.
You
And
quit. You quit the
I
dealership.
quit the dealership. I just felt like it wasn't for me anymore. And I took, a relatively sizable book of business with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I cold called every client for 6 months. And I tried to explain to them what I was doing. That I was like, "Look, any car, not just a Pontiac, a Zuzu, or a Hummer, which we sold at the time. I can help you with anything you want." And this ran, my first client was the girl that cut my hair, and I got her a Mercury Cougar. And I made $200 buying her a $13,000 Mercury Cougar from Pugmire right here across the
Wow.
street. So like, but it was income.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate and very blessed at about that same time at my age, one of my good childhood friends was one of the best NFL at the time, one of the best NFL players there that was out there. So he signed this
Mm-hmm.
massive deal. And of course, first thing he wants are cars. So
Okay.
luckily for me, I was able to, start this business of auto brokerage, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
immediately had an $8 million a year client. Was playing for a huge NFL team, got them a Super Bowl, and then he started sending me his other teammates. So then
Wow.
I started getting
Heavy
these
hitters.
pre-text message. Yeah, this was, I don't even think I had a BlackBerry by then, but this time it was like, phone call 2 a.m. "Hey, I'm at the club with my buddy. He wants a new Rolls Royce Phantom. I'm in the locker room with my other buddy. He wants to buy the newest Mercedes AMG."
Yeah.
And so I started filling these orders, and I was getting paid broker commissions on every single one.
Wait, let me ask you something real quick. So
Mhm,
when you left the dealership, right, your first deal was with the Mercury Cougar, and
mhm.
eventually you came across this friend of yours that made it big in the NFL. You started getting kind of heavy hitter clients that way. So when you made the decision to go off on your own, I'm asking you this because I feel like I'm at that phase of my life. So when you went the decision to go off on your own, did you go out there and get a dealer's license, or did you just kind of do it and the client would take care of you? Like, what was your thought process with that?
Funny you should bring that up because that was a very stressful part of my life. So from 2004,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, till about 2013,
Mm-hmm.
I had a business license, and I had an office, and I had a warehouse where I would store cars, but I never technically took title. So I
So who
would,
was covering the expenses for all this stuff? Were you doing it, or you
yeah,
did?
yeah. I mean, I had rent. I mean, rent and insurance, and very limited marketing budget at the time because
Mm-hmm.
most of my clients were word of mouth.
Yeah.
And my overhead was very small. And when you were brokering Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Bentleys and Rolls Royces, the broker commissions, which on average are about 3%, were pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
With very little overhead.
3%?
I had one, that's what it was. I mean, now it fluctuates, but
Yeah.
um, I had one assistant and that was it. I didn't have a whole bunch of, now we have 13, 14 employees, but then I had, just one assistant to basically tell me I needed to go take this guy to lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So I was taking sports agents to lunch almost every day, high net worth financial advisors, attorneys that did family law, because
Uh-huh.
anytime there was a death or divorce, there was a car that needed to be bought or sold. I
Interesting.
was only focusing on ultra high net worth
Mm-hmm.
and celeb and athlete and people in the music business. And I'm still have great relationships with all the exact same people. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they they trusted that I would make sure that their clients were taken care of, and that was my only sales pitch.
Yeah.
Because like when these guys would sign these big deals, the first thing they wanted was a car.
Yeah.
And so either the agent or the banker or the financial advisor or the attorney would have to handle it on their behalf.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to do it. So
Yeah.
they would farm it out to me. So it worked out great.
Yeah.
But back to your question about the, dealer's license or not, I was completely unaware that in the state of Georgia back in the day, you had to operate as a dealer. A dealer and a broker were basically the same thing.
Right.
But I was never taking inventory. I was never taking title. I was merely putting a buyer and a seller together
Dude,
and
this is
getting
exactly where I'm at.
paid a commission. So
The title's
I
not transacting through me. It's just you're
correct.
essentially doing a
Yeah.
personal private sale. You're just handling the process.
Correct. So Georgia had what was called casual sale. So
Okay.
casual sale up until I think 2013 was not subject to tax. So if you introduce your neighbor to a guy down the street
Mm-hmm.
and the guy down the street paid the neighbor
Mm-hmm.
$100,000 for that car, it was not subject to sales tax in Georgia. In 2013, they changed the whole platform
Okay.
and made all cars taxable.
Okay.
And I was advised that I had to get a dealer's license.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was going to get a dealer's license, I was going to either go big or go home. So that's when I bought this building that's here. So this actually, I started out as a rental. Also one of my best clients was the guy who had this building, and we bumped into each other at a car show, and he said, "Do you want to grow your business?" Because I was working out of this small office in Brookhaven with a small little warehouse, and I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Yeah, I definitely want to grow the business." He goes, "Well, I'm moving, and I've got this building in Marietta, and I don't want to just rent it to a complete stranger. Are you interested in taking it over?"
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, well, I could get a dealer's because there are restrictions to have a dealer's license in
Yep.
Georgia. You have to have a brick and mortar structure. You have to have frontage. You have to have a certain amount of land. You
Signage.
have to have a website, a landline. There was a whole bunch of stuff that went
Yep.
into it. And I said, might as well just go ahead and do it. So that year is when I signed a lease on this building and got all the zoning stuff done. We had a 6-month process with the city of Marietta to get this zoned for retail
Right.
because it was industrial or commercial or something like that.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how we got going. And then I started buying cars. I literally wasn't just putting buyers and sellers together. I was using my own money and going out and buying cars.
Right.
And I would either buy cars from existing customers or I'd buy cars from other dealers that were coming in on trade,
Yeah.
just like any traditional car dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And it, you know, the neat thing that happened though is I was able to merge the two concepts, right? So I was a brick and mortar dealer that had the ability to go out and buy and sell speculatively,
Yeah.
but I already had the client base of the people
Right.
that knew to call me if they needed to buy or sell.
Right.
So we were very blessed that just those two kind of concepts married each other, and
Yeah.
it's trucking along. We're still doing it.
Yeah.
And as long as I get to work every day and I have fun and I'm excited to go to work every day, I'm gonna keep doing it. It's not, like I
Yeah.
said earlier, it's not technically work. I mean,
Yeah.
we get to play with really cool cars. We get to meet cool people. We've got a zero tolerance policy for people that are not kind.
Mm-hmm.
So, you always will have your traditional combative, argumentative, ready to go to war type of buyer who thinks he should pay less than everybody else. And he'll come in and tell you, you're a sleazy used car salesman. And, how do I know this car hasn't been wrecked? How do I know I'm going to get a title? How do I know you're not going to screw me? I'm like, you know what? This is probably just not the right place for you, sir.
Yeah.
And so we're luckily at a place now where we don't have to take every deal that comes in.
Yeah.
And I don't have to come in on Sundays anymore like I used to. Like we've got it down now where we run a good ship. I've got great staff in there that they get the
100%.
job done. We are very, very focused on customer follow-up. I mean, that's one advice to anybody starting in this business is like, buyers are very fickle.
Yeah.
And so if you don't follow up quickly, they're on to the next car and the next dealer. And if that dealer has a better follow procedure than you do, and they're going to get the customer in before you will, your chances of conversion are are significantly lower.
Yeah.
So with us, what we preach are transparency,
Mm-hmm.
utter transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Do not tell somebody a car's perfect if it's not perfect. If it's got a star in the windshield, tell them it has a star in the windshield. If it has, if it's going to be due for brakes and, X amount of months, tell them.
Yeah.
That way there's no surprises. This Murcielago here, it needs a clutch. That's a consignment car for a client, is a referral to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great car once it has a clutch put in it.
Once it has a
He doesn't want to put any money into it.
And then there is a buyer that's going to be out there that's going to be willing to put a clutch in that car
We've
and
shown
take
that
it
car
home.
3 times. That car will be sold by Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like the value is there because it's priced accordingly. So we've left based off of fair market value for a perfect Murcielago and a Murcielago that needs a clutch.
That needs a clutch.
We've left plenty of room for somebody to make it their own Murcielago.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they want to do a different exhaust, have at it. If they want to do a different clutch, there's like different clutches you can buy. Like there's a company in Ohio that we use exclusively. I'm not going to advertise for them, but they do a ceramic clutch now.
Okay.
That's way better than the factory clutch.
Sure.
It's not cheap, but it's
worth
what's
it.
in this Countach, and it's in the Diablo that's in the other building.
Okay.
It's literally guaranteed for life.
Yeah.
You don't have to replace the clutch.
So when you started this journey of going off on your own, you said that initially it was because your wife, now girlfriend at the time, was like, you work way too much.
Yeah.
And I want to go back even a little bit further. So when you left college, were your parents like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you going and selling cars? Why aren't you becoming a lawyer or professor, like professional?
Yeah, my dad was an entrepreneur, so I don't think he was disappointed in my career choice. The funny thing is his friends were. So all his friends were professionals. They were all attorneys and or doctors or other accountants, those types of people, right?
Yeah.
And I do remember having conversations, not with my own dad, because I think he actually respected my work ethic. Like, I mean, I was in the restaurant business before the car business. Like, I'd work double shifts like it was nothing. Like, I think I set a record at a restaurant I worked at. I worked like 35 doubles in a row because I just liked making money.
Yeah.
And I love work. Like, and I don't mind it. To me, once again, I had fun when I was going to work.
Yes, man.
So I don't think he was disappointed in respect that I chose not to go the route of an attorney or a doctor or whatever. I didn't make any money the first couple of years. And
when you branched off on your own?
When I went on my own, yeah, I was pretty much not cash flow positive, let's put it that way. Luckily, my wife had a great job, so she more or less supported us the first couple of years. And then it kind of flipped like a switch. In fact, I was about to throw in a towel. We were actually on vacation for New Year's Eve, and I was like having very clear conversations with her of like, look, if I don't start picking up more clients, like this just doesn't sustain. I'll probably take a job and go back to another car dealership and work as a used car manager or try to get a job as an assistant general manager or GSM, whatever.
Sure.
And it was like the weirdest thing happened. It was like New Year's Day. Vacation's over. We pack up our stuff. We fly back to Atlanta. I go into my office and there's like 30 voicemail messages. Just like that. Hey, Tony, this is such and such. Got your number from my neighbor. We've got a Corvette we're interested in selling, or got your number from such and such. We need to buy a car for our daughter. Got your number from such and such. Need to do this, do that. So we got pretty busy pretty quick. And then it's, back to the whole parents disappointment, non-disappointment. I remember, taking my dad to dinner, nothing crazy fancy. We were going to like Longhorn Steakhouse. And I told him how much money I had made. And he was like blown away. It was more than
from those like 30 voicemails.
No, it was like a year or two after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like it took about a year for people to understand. So I my ADD, so I got sidetracked.
No, you're good.
I started cold calling these people, explaining to them this concept of I can help you buy and sell any type of car, and none of them got it. They're like, I don't understand.
Dude, I
Why
deal
would
with
I
that.
call you? And I'm like, because I can be your umpire, your advocate. Yeah, I don't get it. And then it just didn't
They
click.
don't understand your value until it's put into action.
Correct. And then
Yeah.
finally,
Even when you put it, I don't mean to cut you off.
yeah, that's all right.
Even when you put it into action, you bring them this amazing deal. They don't understand the verbiage that you used, how you carried yourself in the conversation with the salesperson or the dealership or anything to get to that point.
1000% accurate. So, it took a while, but I would probably say by the time I was 20, 28, 29, like I was making good money. I mean, more than I was working at the car dealership, right?
Yeah.
And, it grew and we were scaling as a business. We scaled substantially every single year because the way I look at it was this organic growth I thought was better
Hmm.
than inorganic or print media, or this is pre-social media. Like, I mean, Facebook was, or MySpace was brand new when I was just starting to get busy, right? And so it was all referral based, and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And then when we got this building and we were able to store more cars, the car business is a numbers game. The more cars you have in inventory, the more phone calls you're going to get. And the way I look at it is the hit singles. So I don't try to make a ton of money on my cars. We try to sell a lot of cars and make a consistent, fair profit at every single one. And we sell everything. We've got stuff here that's probably on the low end at $20,000, and we've got a over $2 million Carrera GT sitting right there. Like, we have it all. So the way I look at it is the guy that's going to buy the $25,000 Honda CRV today, he's a kid. He could easily explode, have a great idea, build it into a business, scale it, sell it for $1 billion when he's 45. I want him to remember us and come back. And we've seen the transition. I mean, I have multiple customers that started at what were at the time small companies that now are worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And
You
when I
never
met them, they
know.
were 25 and they were an inside salesperson at a software company. And now they're the COO of the same company. And they've got I don't know, X amount of 10,000 shares of this one stock that's worth X, and they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they are buying substantial cars from us. So I had multiple opportunities as time's gone by to like, all right, that's it. We're not selling any more inexpensive cars. We're just going to focus on
Luxury.
$1 million Lamborghinis and $2 million Porsches and $1 million Ferrari 458 Speciale Apertas. Like, just it didn't work for us. What works for us is to do a little bit of everything. And trust me, like when there is a $25,000 Honda CRV sitting right here in this showroom, when somebody comes in on a Saturday and they've already gone to 6 other dealerships and they walk in here and they see these cars, they're in. They're
Boom.
like, oh, these guys are legit. Like, this
These
is
guys are these guys got serious cars and they have this one, it must be good too.
correct. And in reality, they are good.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of cars that I've lost money on over the years because I have to make it perfect to sell it. I don't want it coming back. I live here. I grew up here. I have friends here. My family's all still here. I don't need a phone call. Like, hey, you won't believe what happened. I was at dinner on Saturday night at Houston's, and this lady at the table next to us was bitching about this car she bought from you and said it blew up. So it's just easier for me to, once again, hit singles, make a little bit of money and sell a lot of cars, meet more people. They're more organic growth where look, my competitors are also good friends. Like, I don't really have any enemies in this business, but I have a buddy that's in Florida. He won't sell a car unless he can make like a 40% margin on it. So he may sit on a
A long
Lamborghini
time.
STO for 9 months to sell it to make 60 grand on it. But that's not my business.
Right.
If we don't sell a car, give or take, in less than 6 days, we cut bait and it goes.
Yeah.
Whether we make a little money, break even, or lose money, it doesn't matter to me. And likewise, when it comes back to the reconditioning of that $25,000 car, if I bought it for 20 and I thought I was buying a good car, and my mechanic comes back and says it needs a transmission, that's 8 grand, I put the transmission in. It's
Really.
just easier, yeah. That or we send it to the auction. But
Yeah.
more times than not, we'll just fix the car and make it right.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
Now with those, you said you tapped into the luxury and exotics, and then you then end up realizing you need to keep some of the more everyday cars. Do you think that's because of Atlanta as a market, or do you think that would still hold true in places like Miami, LA, crazy markets like that?
There's an old saying, there's an ass for every seat. So I can't necessarily say it's geographic because we probably sell 75% of our cars go out of state.
Yeah.
We have a tremendous amount of clients in California and Connecticut, Miami, higher net worth areas where you see more cars like this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, specific to the
Atlanta
the
market.
Atlanta market, I think Atlanta's a growing, still a very rapidly growing city
Yeah.
with people moving here. And when people move here from New York or Chicago, they need to buy a car.
Yeah.
So back to my comment for a few minutes ago, it's a numbers game. The more cars you have, the more cars you're going to sell.
Right.
And I think the broader variety of cars. Like, look, do I think it sucks that one of my sales guys has to spend as much time selling a $25,000 Honda CRV as a $2 million Porsche Carrera GT?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. However, another thing about specializing in the super high-end exotics is higher debt service.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to, if it's a lousy month, I don't want to be sitting on $50 million in cars.
No.
I sleep pretty good at night knowing that half the cars that are here, if I take them to the auction tomorrow, I'm going to break even.
Right.
I'm out.
Right.
Whereas when you're taking, a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 car to auction, you run a massive risk
Yeah.
of it doesn't sell or doesn't hit reserve, or you sell it at no reserve and you really get clobbered.
Yeah.
And that goes not just your conventional auction model like your Mannheims or your Odessas, but your Bring a Trailers,
Right.
your P-Car Market, your MB Marketplace, your Cars and Bids. Everybody's got Haggerty's has a site now. Sotheby's has a site now. So there's all these online auction formats, right?
Sure.
And once again, nobody goes to work not to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that run those auction sites, they want to procure a sale. So they're gonna stress that you either sell it with a lower reserve or do it no reserve, which is a tremendous amount of risk with a $2 million car.
Yeah.
So for us, I like to keep it.
Because the no reserve is more effective. Is just when someone bids at it, it's not near your number that you want to be at. That car is gone.
We've had monumental success with no reserve cars,
Mm-hmm.
and we've gotten burned. Not just online, but even in at Amelia Island and Pebble Beach over the years, we ran a car. I won't say which one it was. It was one of the ones that I actually personally owned. I got clobbered.
Ugh.
I ran a really, really rare BMW last year at Pebble, and it was 50 grand shy of what I owned it for.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to go for a profit, but it just didn't run at the right time.
Yeah.
And there's no way of controlling that. And you also don't know who's going to be in the room. Like, so this year was back to Pebble. We were talking about at the beginning of our conversation. Like, it was not nearly as, in my opinion, it wasn't as crowded as it normally was.
Really?
There's not as many people there.
It's like market dependent.
Yeah, it's like the fireworks were not there. Like, to me, like an overly crowded standing room only auction at 9 o'clock at night when you see the fireworks go off, like it's a rush. It's like going to a concert. Like, it's awesome.
I know.
You see two guys, not millionaires but billionaires, duking out over a $30 million Ferrari.
That's sick.
It's almost like a tennis match, like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Great story. The first time I ever went to Pebble was 2009. And they were auctioning off.
This is the stuff I want to hear, right?
Yeah, they were auctioning off of Ferris, not the car from the movie, but it was a '61 Ferrari 250 short wheelbase
The
California.
Ferris Bueller car.
The identical car, same spec, everything. I'm sitting in like the third row at the auction, and I don't know. I mean, like, I'm 30 years old. Like, I can't comprehend a $20 million car at the time. And the bid gets to 18, and the auctioneer is like, "Sir, I have you at 18.5," and the guy's sitting right next to me.
No way.
And the guy ends up buying the car. I want to say it was just shy of 20 million bucks. The whole room's applauding, going crazy. Dude's wearing a tank top, Umbros,
Bro.
and soccer sandals. Speaks no English, Italian, like right off the boat Italian. And I speak enough Italian to like converse a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So I, talked to him for a minute. And the dude literally just goes like this, reaches into his Umbro pocket, pulls out box of, Cowboy Killer Camel, was it Marlboro Reds or Camel no filters?
Yeah.
It just lights up a cigarette in the third row at the auction. All of a sudden, security comes over there like, "Sir, you can't smoke." He's like, "I just bought a $20 million car. I do what I want."
What?
Just puts a cigarette out in his hand.
Oh,
Like,
my
it's just,
God.
it's just like, I'm like,
That's the most badass.
I love this. Like, this is my career. Like, I actually get to do this kind of shit now. We've got to meet really cool people, and real car guys are genuinely like great guys. Like, my wife,
Yeah.
once again, she didn't really understand what I do for work for many, many, many years until I took her to Pebble like 3 years ago. And through another mutual friend here in Atlanta, whose company actually employed Chip Foose.
Wow.
We end up sitting with Chip at the auction on Saturday night. So before the big Sunday Pebble Beach car show,
Uh-huh.
and we all hit it off and we're just shooting the shit. And then that Sunday, Chip and my wife walk around for like an hour and a half. And he's like explaining to her the design on a, Hispana Suiza or a Talbot Lago or, all these kind of amazing pre-war Art Deco cars.
Yeah.
And she kind of got a good sense and a feel for like
The
the community
appreciation.
appreciation and the culture and what I do. And, being out there for 10 days, the connections that I'm not just making new connections. I'm not procuring, but I'm maturing existing connections, right? Like I'm growing them like seedlings. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I see the same people every year. And
Right.
every year we get closer and closer to conducting business, right?
Right.
Or it's an existing customer that every year we're conducting more and more business. I'm buying more cars for his or her collection, or
Mm-hmm.
selling more cars for his or her collection. It was really, really a fun, a fun experience. But like, I mean,
Yeah.
the stuff that we've seen that's come in here, like we deal with everybody. And we've got athletes and celebrities and very suspicious characters that come in all the time. And
Yeah.
I mean,
I was here
I've
like a few.
repoed Ferraris before. I mean, I've
Yeah.
done it all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's never a shortage of drama. I mean, you have other celebrity clients that will call you from a strip club at 4 o'clock in the morning, say, I just left the such and such club and I hit a pothole and I blew out tire on my Bentley. Can you get me a tow truck immediately? And by the way, I'm intoxicated, so I'm gonna catch a cab and get out of here. I'm gonna leave the car abandoned. I mean,
Oh,
like, you name it,
snap.
man. We had another probably 2007, 2008, when everything crashed in the economy.
Yeah.
We had a football player who ended up subleasing his Ferrari illegally.
Okay.
So he had a 430 Spider that obviously his income was not going to support the $6,000 a month car payment. So he decided to find somebody else to make the payment.
Like straw purchasing a little bit.
Yeah, but the problem is that the guy took the cash from somebody, or there was a third party involved who took the cash but never made the payment to the leasing company. So then I had to go repossess the car from the leasing company to find out that the car was in fact owned by a drug dealer. Oh, he was
Ooh,
the sublease. The guy subleasing the car was a known drug dealer. So
that's
like, yeah, that
crazy.
was fun. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I was like, I get my phone's ringing the next day. He's like, you realize what you did, right? And I was like, no. I was like, I was instructed by a leasing company to go get this car because I had a payment hadn't been made in 90 days. So
Yeah.
I went and got it. They said, yeah, the guy that's been allegedly making payments on that car is like one of the biggest drug dealers in Atlanta.
Oh,
So yeah, that was.
were you like fearful for a
I
while?
was like, I'm gonna get killed. Yeah. So I'm like, it's on. But
So
we've done fun stuff though.
what was the moment in your career, right? Because you said that you left that dealership that you started working at, started brokering deals, and then you even got this location. You also met that, football player that propelled and got you some clients. What was the moment you feel really where you started getting some traction, like, okay, I feel good in the direction this is going and deals are coming in and things are happening now?
I mean, probably
Because as an entrepreneur, there's
probably like the
definitely,
fifth or sixth year of.
uh-huh.
I mean, to me, everything I do is for my family, right?
Hmm.
So, and and being able to do better for the next generation.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to take my kids on amazing trips,
Yeah.
and I want them to go to the best schools and the best colleges and have safe cars and not have to worry about anything. So,
Sure.
you have to put in hard work to do that. So
Yeah.
for years, I was going to sleep relatively nervous, right? Because I didn't feel I was making enough money to be able to go do the things that I was going to want to be able to do. My kids were babies at the time, so they wouldn't have known the difference. We could have stayed at the St. Regis or the Motel 6. They wouldn't have known the difference.
Yeah.
And so I would probably say, like, by year 6 or 7 of being in the business, the the income was at a level where I was sleeping good at night, right?
Hmm.
And then there's that balance of like how much is enough, right? And more money, more problems,
Sure.
and being grounded, which is actually more my wife than me. Like, I'm the spender, she's the saver.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I was in a position to go buy a new GT3, I went and bought a brand new GT3. And this was pre-pandemic. So I would go buy a new GT3, in 2011, 3.8 liter at a discount,
Yeah.
and then drive it for 6 months and sell it at a loss because I just didn't know any better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, during COVID, you'd go buy a GT3 at sticker, and then sell it and make 100 grand. But
Yep.
before the pandemic, any car you would drive off the lot, you'd take an immediate hit.
Yeah.
And so I kind of outgrew all that by the time I was 40, and I just don't
Mhm.
care anymore. I daily drive an F-150.
Oh,
I
really? I was gonna ask you that. What does Tony drive with all these
Tony
cars
drives
sitting
an
there?
F-150 Raptor. And knock on wood, I had a really bad accident last month in the exact same car, and it saved my life.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much married to my F-150 Raptor. I love Porsche as a brand. That's my
Yep.
probably my favorite car of my personal car collection. That's what I own the most of.
Hmm.
And those are kind of like you had mentioned earlier about investment. Like some of those cars, which are in here, are cars that I'm going to sell in 20 years.
Yeah.
In 20 years when I'm ready to retire, hopefully they're worth a ton of money.
Yeah.
And the problem is I don't drive them as much as I used to. I
Mm.
used to get a lot more excited to go out and drive.
Hmm.
And we used to go do Tail of the Dragon and Blood Mountain and go up the Highlands and do all
Yeah.
these like fun roads, and I just don't have time anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the thrill of driving these cars, unfortunately, I'm very depressed to say, has worn off. Like
I was
I'm
gonna.
around them
So you're
every
like
day, all day,
desensitized to it?
desensitized. Like you could put a brand new Koenigsegg right here, and I'm gonna look at it and be like,
Like, all right.
it's gorgeous. Unless I'm driving, and I don't want to be. That's the other thing is I have massive victim seat phobia.
Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
I can't sit right seat.
Okay.
And so if I'm right seat and like that turbo right there has 1,000 horsepower,
What?
I won't ride in it. I won't even ride it. I don't like to be, if I'm behind the wheel, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So like all these crazy horsepower cars and like even my own personal cars, like I can't leave anything stock. So I've modified. The
Okay.
majority of the Porsches I own are heavily modified.
Okay.
And 10 years ago when I was doing it, like it was like as much power, as much power, as much power. I want to be able to do 0 to 60 in 2 seconds flat.
Hmm.
I don't care anymore.
You don't care
Like I
anymore?
have a race car, so I go to the track. Like
Yeah.
so if I want to go really, really fast, I go to Road Atlanta because God forbid if I do something stupid,
Yeah.
there's a good chance I'm going to hit tires
Right.
versus a human
So,
or a mailbox and a telephone pole.
yeah.
So
Dude,
I get my aggression out on the track
that's one
nowadays.
of my biggest fears is because I love these cars so much, I don't want to become desensitized to them by being in the business, but
Change careers.
change careers. You think there's a strategy?
I mean,
If you could go back in time? There's no way to really do it, is there?
once again, everybody's different. Like the way I've matured in life, it's me. Everything now is more experiential
Right.
than it is the possession. I think, well, it's probably a lot more insecure 10 years ago. And if I was going to a car show, I wanted to pull up in the most badass car I could. And it came into like the whole, like the penis contest, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like one guy's, mine's bigger than yours. And the other
Right.
guy's like, well, I have two penises. So top that,
Mhm.
right? And I did fall into that boy racer D-bag mentality of where like, oh, you have a 993 turbo. That's a great Porsche. I have a 993 Turbo S. It's more rare. Or, oh, you've got a Aventador. I have an SV. Like
Mhm.
it just got, I'm burnt. Like it's to me,
You don't even get anything out of it.
it got old. So it got old too quick.
Yeah.
Like so for me, it's experiential now. So like I have a couple of cars I do still drive that are fun. They're manual, analog, one air-cooled car, Porsche, and one water-cooled Porsche that I will never sell because I actually do enjoy
Enjoy
driving
them.
them.
Hmm.
The really valuable cars, some of that are in here that I own that I won't say which ones they are,
Okay.
there's 2 or 3 cars here that haven't been driven in a year.
Really?
I know they're just good investments, but I don't want to go drive them because
Yeah.
I'm worried somebody's going to run a red light and hit me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's the other part about
That's what.
driving these super irreplaceable rare cars where they're one of one car. Like
Hmm.
there's a one of one Gambala in the corner right there.
Yeah.
Like it's irreplaceable. That
Yeah.
car's
Nick
been
was telling me
driven.
that.
That car maybe has accumulated 8 miles in 3 years because it's irreplaceable. And
Yeah.
then we've got another storage building across the street that's got the same story of the same cars. It's
Hmm.
like had it since 17 and it's got 200 miles more on the odometer since 2017.
Oh my God.
So yeah, but you also, when you have, I sold a bunch of cars last March. It was the best thing I ever did because I was just like, I was literally getting on a plane, flying to Charleston, and my oldest employee who works here is in his 60s.
Hmm.
And I love him to death. He's a great, loyal, and fantastic employee. He's an asset to the business. But I sent off like a nasty text because like something wasn't done. I'm OCD, so like I
Yeah.
want stuff done a certain way. I want it done my way, and I want it done immediately. And
Hmm.
I put these these procedures in place because I know they work. And
Sure.
when somebody does something that's not as I asked it to be done, it could potentially throw me for a loop. So sure enough, I asked him to do something and it wasn't done when I wanted it done and how I wanted it done. So of
Hmm.
course I fire off a nasty text. So he just calls. He's like, "You want to know why I didn't take that car to such and such and I went to this place instead, even though that's
Hmm.
against what you said?" I said, "Why?" He's like, "Because I spent the entire morning getting your personal car started." He's like, "Half your cars hadn't been started in 6 months and they were dead as a door. Even after being left on chargers, they were dead as a doornail."
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, "This guy works for me and he's schooling my ass right now. Like he's straight up like taking me to school."
Yeah.
And so I go to Charleston, I do this trip and come back and I was like, "You know what? I'm going to sell all those cars." So I sold like 5 or 6 cars.
Oh, just
Uh,
because of that one incident?
I was like, it's not fair to the car. It's like, it's mean. It's like the cars are designed to be driven, right? And
It's like you living in an apartment, but you have, a Great Dane or like some big dog that
it's
needs to
not
be
fair
on
to
a
the dog.
farm, right?
And like, I live 7 miles from here. So like, what am I doing? Drive a different car home every night, to like keep tires around.
Yeah.
So every single time I go to drive it, I got to make sure the tag's current on it. Obviously, make sure it's going to start.
Hmm.
The hard ones to replace, the irreplaceable ones, that's just anxiety. So yeah, you get desensitized when you're around them all the time. We don't drive customers. I don't even drive customers. The consignment cars that come in, I don't even drive them anymore
Yeah.
because I don't want to have to call a customer and say, "Hey, I was taking your car up the street to get gas in it, and somebody ran a red light and hit me."
Where
And it's
normally
an irreplaceable car.
you would have gotten excited to drive the car from like a while ago, but now it's
Yeah,
just
I
like,
mean, when I started 25 years ago, and I mean, it was like I was one of the first sponsors of Caffeine and Octane before it was massively
oh,
used. It
really?
was like 30 of us,
Yeah, yeah,
and we
yeah.
would meet in East Cobb at the Avenues.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had a client that had a real roof Yellowbird,
Hmm.
and I drove the Yellowbird to Caffeine and Octane,
Hmm.
and he found out about it, and
Oh,
he went ballistic. He
yeah.
was like, you didn't get my permission to drive the car to the car show." I'm like, "Dude, I'm trying to sell the car. Like, it's got a for sale sign on it. I was doing my job." We
Yeah.
never specifically said not to drive it. So he's like, "Well, just so you know, I don't have insurance on that car because it's a Euro VIN. It's uninsurable. It's a
Oh,
rest of world car. And there was no way to technically insure the car at the time." I was like, "So thank God nothing ever happened." I ended up buying that car from him.
oh, snap.
Years later, I bought it. He got in a position where he had to sell, and I bought the car. I'm not even ashamed to sell. I bought it for $125,000, um, and those are transacting now for north of $1 million.
What
So I
was this
bought
car?
a Yellowbird, a real roof Yellowbird.
Oh,
So like technically the world's fastest car in 1987,
wow.
and had it for a few years, put some money into it, some work into it. The car has like retransacted through the auction scene like
Like, do you
six
regret
times.
selling cars like that or no?
I would never work another day in my life if I would have kept even 5 cars that
That you can
had I
think
would have
of?
known 10 years ago. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we like even cars that just sold at Pebble Beach
Right.
like 2 weeks ago were cars I had opportunities to buy 10 years ago for 10 cents on the dollar, but we don't know. I
You
mean,
know, the
without a
past
crystal
few
ball.
days that what I've been thinking about is with the way that technology goes, right? Even with these electric cars, every single person that came in that tried to buy an electric car from me, I'll put them in a lease because I do
Like an
not want,
iPhone.
yeah, I don't want them to take on the liability of the depreciation and not knowing these are not cars anymore. These are no different than your iPhone,
It is an iPhone.
right?
That's why
And my with that in mind, I look at cars like this Murcielago or even the GT3, even this 458 Special, I mean a Aperta. I mean, I wonder, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, the way that some of these antique cars, like the one that you were just talking about, have appreciated so much in value because they're antique. I wonder, and can you imagine, let's say even a GT3, right? I wonder if the appreciation on these cars is going to grow from a compound level in the sense of the variety of cars that will appreciate on a compound level because they're gas, because they're manual, because they're naturally aspirated. I mean, there some of these antique cars, there's one of a few, I mean, there's a ton of antique cars that are crazy, but with just full on electric cars coming into play, these gas cars, naturally aspirated cars, manual cars, I just have a strong feeling that you could you're not gonna have to try that hard.
no, I mean, look, the EV thing is real. It's not going away. We don't necessarily have the infrastructure in place right now to make it fully practical, it
Right.
will be in 10
It
years.
will.
And I mean, some countries in Europe have straight up said, look, by 2030, like all of our cars are going to be hybrid or electric,
Yep.
period.
Hmm.
It will probably age out. I mean, like my daughter, I have one daughter that's almost 15 and one that's 18.
Hmm.
Half of their friends don't even want to go get a driver's license.
Yeah.
I mean, I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning the day I could get my license, right?
Same.
Like it's different. So I think we're gonna this newer generation. There are still look. I love nothing more than being here on a Saturday when a couple of like high school kids come in that are not here to buy a car. They're just like, look, we follow you on Instagram. We just want to look at the cars.
Hmm.
Like there's car nuts. There are
Yeah.
still some, probably not as many.
Hmm.
It is an age thing and it's a demographic thing. I also don't see in 20, 30 years someone saying like, oh, dude, my 2021 Tesla Plaid, and like, look at what I've done. Look at what I've done to it. Like,
Right.
like when you see these guys at car shows talking about their 67 vet,
Right.
I don't see that culture.
Yeah.
I do see, the whole, I usually call it like the 11-year-old kid test. Like
Uh,
every 11-year-old kid knows what a Lamborghini looks like, what a Porsche looks like, what a Ferrari looks like, whether they're a car person or not. Like,
right.
so I think there's that appreciation that's not going to go away permanently, but I do see it. Yeah, I think that the culture is gonna constrict. I think less and less of these younger generations care about cars. Like they don't have the video games like we had. All they want to do is shoot
Yeah.
each other in the video games. Like all I wanted to do was play Gran Turismo
Same.
and Forza, like addicted to it,
Yeah.
like a
Midnight
drug. Like I
Club.
almost flunked out of college because of the first Gran Turismo. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I played 24 hours. I did an endurance race one time. I skipped class to do the endurance race.
That's insane.
And like, I don't see it. Like,
And we grew up with like Fast and the
yeah,
Furious and all that,
it's,
and we
they're
don't see that
not,
nowadays.
it's not there. I mean, I think Formula One with obviously with Netflix, with the docuseries
Yeah.
for Formula One,
Has been put on the map.
there's a new appreciation for motorsports,
Right.
which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
As far as a younger appreciation for what I call real cars, like when
Hmm.
cars are cars, like when
Hmm.
they're actually metal
Hmm.
or metal and carbon fiber, and they are naturally aspirated, or they stink of gasoline.
Yeah.
It's that is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
but I do think it is an age thing, right? So there's another like saying that we use often that say if it's owners in diapers, sell the car.
Oh
So,
yeah.
which is why we're seeing a massive exodus of the 40s and 50s cars, right?
Right.
I I love those cars because I'm a full blown car nut. But like, I don't know, 6 months ago we had a $250,000 top 1% most award winning 58 Impala the world had ever seen.
Hmm.
Convertible, triple white wall wheels. I was so excited to drive that car home. I didn't even make it a mile before I turned around
Why?
because it drives like crap.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like it's all over the road. I mean, the brakes are sloppy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like this is not safe. The
Right.
steering wheel's like this, and I'm still going in a straight line. You know, that that's kind of over, right? And then there are other times where I get in a short wheelbase mid 60s 911,
Hmm.
which had disc brakes and is
Hmm.
actually pretty quick.
Hmm.
Like that's cool because that's like fun to drive and it's tight and it's right.
Yeah.
And stuff into the 70s and the 80s actually drive like cars, but that stuff in the 40s and the 50s,
Yeah.
very few of those cars technically drive tight, for lack of a better term. Like they're
Right.
they're loosey goosey and they're all over the road. So I think I don't know of any 30-year-old millionaires that are calling me saying, "Hey, I really, really want a '57 Chevy." It's not
Yeah.
happening. So
Right.
they're going to this more modern stuff,
Hmm.
and they'll age out. Like in 30 years, they'll be 60 and hopefully still hanging on to their car collection. By the time they're in their 70s into their 80s, they're out.
Right.
And then who knows what the next generation is like. I do not predict a generation of EV collectors, though.
No.
I don't see it. Yeah,
Actually, I don't know, man. Maybe like 100 years from now, they're gonna be
there's
like, dude, you remember that Taycan, the first
well,
Taycan that
there's
ever came
nothing
out?
experiential about it. Like I don't know of a Tesla club in the Metro Atlanta area where a
Yeah.
bunch of Tesla owners meet. Like if anything, like I had an Uber. I had to get an Uber last week, and the dude had it on self-drive the whole way home.
Yeah.
Like he picked me up at a car dealership in Roswell, brought me back here, and the dude is like
Just sitting there like this.
just sitting like this, and the car's doing all the work, and I'm like, I hope nothing
Well,
happens.
dude, in the future, the cars are going to be flying like the Jetsons, and then the guys that have the electric cars are going to be like, yeah, this car has tires.
Yeah,
This car
yeah,
has
yeah.
wheels.
This thing's a unicorn because you actually have to you put your hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it once again, it's like we'll do it as long as we can. I without a crystal ball, I have no idea what's going to happen in 30
Yeah,
years from now.
I
Like we
know, I know.
just don't know. If I knew it,
Nor do I care
yeah,
because I'll be
I'd be
a
insane.
vegetable
Well, I'd
now.
be in if I could tell you what was going to be happening in the future, I would have predicted it 10 years ago and I'd be retired sitting on a beach right now, but I'm not. So I'm
Yeah,
here
yeah,
grinding it out every day.
yeah.
And it's very fluid. Like it's not, the market right now is not what it was pre-COVID. It's a
Hmm.
completely different market. Peaks, valleys, it's changing. What happened during the pandemic technically should have never happened, but it did.
Yeah.
Used cars had never gone up in value before, right? These
Hmm.
supply demand curves had never been that way. You'd never have to beg a dealership to sell you a car.
Right.
Like it was bizarre. I mean, I was coming into work here in 2021, phone would ring, I'd pick it up and, hey, this is Joe. I'm calling about the Lamborghini. Is it still available? Yes. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, no questions asked. You
Sold.
don't even have to do anything.
I mean, they even asked for a Carfax. They didn't even ask for a Carfax back then. It was just
That's
like, I'll take it.
crazy.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And we're going back to some pre-pandemic normalcy.
Yeah.
The market is going back. The consumers, however, are still fighting it because who wouldn't want it to stay the way
And
it
now
was?
rates are up and everything
Yeah,
too.
but like a lot of customers are coming. We had it happen on Saturday. A guy came in. He's like, "Look, I want to buy this car." He was actually looking at that Turbo S,
Hmm.
and he wanted to trade in a car he bought from us 2.5 years ago, and we appraised it for less than what he paid for it. And he
Hmm.
was furious. He's like, "Well, if I'm going to lose money on this car, I'm just going to keep it."
Hmm.
And this is a 60-year-old adult man. Like he knows what it was like prior to COVID.
Right.
We were buying wholesale inventory in January and February of 19.
Hmm.
We were buying 2018 Porsche 991.2 GT3 RSs and GT2 RSs anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000 back of MSRP.
What?
These were cars that were 6 months old with less than 1,000 miles. That was what the market was back then,
Pre-COVID.
right before COVID. And then you had the 3 months of lockdown where nothing happened, nothing transacted. And it's amazing what happens to people's bank accounts when they can't travel, they can't shop, they can't go out, they can't do anything except sit at home and make money.
Yeah.
So by July and August, everybody had an extra 50 grand in the bank because they didn't have an American Express bill for 4 months. And then they were all of a sudden, they're like, well, shit, I have this extra money in the bank. I guess I'm going to go out
I'm
and buy
going
a
to
car.
buy something sick.
Might as well. I mean, it's the American way. Let me just immediately go into as much debt as possible and buy something I don't need.
Yeah.
And there were not enough cars to go around because
Yeah.
when we were on lockdown, all the manufacturers stopped making cars.
Yeah. I feel bad for the G-Wagon guys, man.
We
G63.
have, it's like if you had to look at an acute snapshot of the quickest flip in car values that I've ever seen, it was that market. It was a year ago, a deal was 50,000 over MSRP for a brand new G63, right?
Hmm.
And or 2 years ago, 100,000 over when they had really peaked. And the reason they hit that peak is that I don't even know, and this could be misinformation, but it's at least how I've digested it. Mercedes-Benz threatened, or the German government threatened Mercedes-Benz that they couldn't produce any more 8-cylinder cars
Uh,
because of emissions control and stuff. And by
right.
a certain year, everything had to be hybrid or electric. So Mercedes-Benz like sends out this press release like, we're not making G-Wagons anymore.
Hmm.
So people went freaking nuts. Like dealerships were having bidding wars within the showroom floor. Like they'd have a brand new G-Wagon would show up. They'd call their top 5 clients and say, be here at 4 o'clock on Friday. Whoever makes the highest bid gets the G-Wagon.
I
Because
didn't know that's why those prices went up. I
yeah,
thought it was just because it was inventory was low and people wanted these cars.
that was the beginning of it. So that when they were 20,000 and 30,000 over stickers, when there was just low inventory and high demand.
Yeah.
But it was when they made this
150.
announcement that they're never going to make the car again. It's the end of an era. Is when it went nuts. And then all of a sudden they come back like, actually, you know what? We changed our mind. We're going to build them again. So that compounded with like we have clients that cannot physically trade their cars in right now because they paid such a market premium or ADM
Yeah.
for a new G63 that now they put 20,000 miles on it and the market has gone back to normal, which means your used car went down in value and they're worth 100 grand less than what these people owe on them.
Right.
They're stuck. I mean, they're married to that car forever. We were talking off camera about a lot of dealers that got heavy into um, G-Wagon arbitrage, I call it, where they go corner to the market and buy all the G-Wagons. And, when the markets are kind of curving down, they're holding on, thinking that the market's going to come back up. Something's going to
Right.
happen, another war or another pandemic, which hasn't happened, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're at war, but there's no more, unless monkeypox takes off, I don't see the G-Wagon market all of a sudden rebounding.
Right.
And you'd be surprised how many people come into the office every day here and say, well, I'll just come back in a few months when the market's better. Like,
Right.
I don't think we're going to have a rebound of new cars. Like the used cars were never supposed to go up in value.
Yeah.
So, there's a dealer I was telling you about that's up in Ohio that sat there and waited and waited and waited and waited for these G-Wagons to go up. And they're at a point now where they can't even pay their debts off on the car. The cars are worth less than what they owe as a dealer. And they don't even have somebody to buy the car. So even if they did have someone to buy the car, they can't clear their books.
Yeah.
So, we talked off camera too about, how to scale these types of businesses using your own capital or traditional capital or private equity capital. And, I just made a conscious decision a long time ago. I didn't want to deal with other people's money because I would really, really feel bad if there's certain things that I can't control. Like, I can't control what the market does, right? I didn't make
Right.
interest rates go up. I didn't make certain products good or bad.
Was there
Like,
an experience that you had that led you to that conclusion, or did you just kind of foresee that in
I mean, I
general?
was invested in another business that had multiple investors, and it wasn't automotive related, and it was just a lot of headaches. So it wasn't an experience, I just it's an inefficient market that I have no way to make any more efficient than anybody else that does what I do for a living. Like being a factor in the car industry, you do have an advantage over somebody who's not in the business of making an inefficient market efficient.
Yeah.
However, you cannot manipulate or control the market. So
Yeah.
if a manufacturer decides to not sell a car like a 4x4 squared, which
Hmm.
is happening right now,
Yeah.
I can't.
Go back to your investor and be like,
Yeah, sorry, dude.
hey, sorry, I just, you know, chunked all this
Yeah,
money.
I told you that if you got on the list for this G-Wagon, that you'd be able to drive it for 6 months and sell it and make a profit. But now they can't sell the cars at all, so you're screwed. I don't want to have to be the guy that delivers that news.
Yeah.
Likewise, if the market for air-cooled Porsches, like, I can make recommendations, but I'm not always right. Not every car in this room is, well, most of them have gone up, but they've also gone back down.
Yeah.
So a lot of the collections that we manage as an aggregate, we're up.
Right.
Like, we've got a really solid track record with a lot of our clients that are have sizable car collections as an alternative investment portfolio.
Right.
And I got a ton of friends that are in wealth management, and they do pretty good too, right? They're up
Mhm.
26%, 28% with their clients' money, but they can't control if the market goes down 2,000 points tomorrow.
Right.
And I can't control if Range Rover or Mercedes or Lamborghini changes how they're going to produce cars in the next 90 days. And that just all of a sudden takes any control out of your hands.
But
And
don't
I
you
don't want to
think
have
that's,
other people's money and
I mean, don't you
be
think
out of
that's any,
control of it.
that's any business though, right?
It is and it's not. I think, if you've got investors in a restaurant and you've got a good product, like, you're gonna
Like you already have an established brand and product
you're
and
gonna churn
everything.
out good food and have good service, people are gonna come back. I mean, unless there's an issue with cattle or an issue with vegetables, which is a
Yeah.
very short-term problem. I think it's a lot different than cars. We have zero
Mhm.
control. Even the dealer principals have control. And I'm not going to say specifically who they are, but there are plenty of still, family-owned, substantial dealer principals. These are big stores that you would know what they are. They're not happy with their brands right now because their
Right.
brands are either forcing electric down their throats or not giving them the cars that they want, the cars that
Yeah.
they make the most money on, and they're not happy about it. And I don't want to deal with that complete headache. Like I don't want to. I'm not saying I don't want to. Like, if somebody offers me a Mercedes-Benz store tomorrow, I'm taking it. It's a great franchise,
Yeah.
great product. Porsche, Audi, even Volkswagen, whatever, all great products. However, EV cars don't have oil changes, so
Yeah.
your traditional dealership revenue stream, your models,
Just cut in half.
drastically affected because you're not changing oil.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that breaks. I mean, you're just doing tires and brakes. That's it.
Yeah.
And a checkup. So you can
Yeah.
only charge so much for a checkup. So yeah, it's to the point of using other people's money. Like, look, if I had what's called an angel investor that approached me tomorrow,
Hmm.
if a guy said, look, I'm going to give you 20 million bucks. I'm not going to call you. I don't care if you make money or lose money. just put it to work. Hopefully, well, this will be a good investment. Fine, I'll probably take the money,
Okay.
right? But
Yeah.
as far as me going out and soliciting my client base, saying like, look, I want you to invest X amount of $100,000 in this
I
car,
want
or
to do
100,000.
this in
Yeah, I
this.
mean, I have buddies that I've specifically identified investments for them, and
Uh-huh.
they've bought them. I'm like,
Okay.
look, dude, I've got a car coming in. It doesn't fit our model. It's not something I want for me personally, and it's not a car I want to buy for inventory. But I
Hmm.
know you've always wanted one. Buy it, and I
Okay.
promise you, in 3 to 5 years, it's going to be double in value. And it's luckily, like, knock on, thank
Yeah.
wood, like I've been right. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't had to tell somebody like, oh, by the way, that $1 million Ferrari we bought is now worth 500,000.
Yeah.
History kind of predicts the future, right?
Right.
So, you see the trends go up for a lot of these cars, and then they start to fall. So obviously the goal is buy it on the upside, and then as soon as you sniff that it's going to tank, you sell it.
Sell it, of
But
course.
we've made some bad moves too. I mean, luckily, I think we've made more good moves than bad moves,
Yeah.
and we've retained the relationships with these clients that are also friends. That's where it also straddles that line. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go to dinner socially with somebody and be on our second bottle of wine. And he's like, "Hey, what's the deal with that F50 of mine?
Hmm.
I heard you sold it. What'd you get? 300 grand less than you paid." Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't. It's just not. It's not for me.
Yeah.
It's everybody does things differently,
Yeah.
and I said this to a buddy one time when he was like, why aren't you as big as such and such? Like, why do you not have the same presence as that guy? I said, look, not every athlete is going to go all American, right?
Right.
Like I said earlier, I just try to hit singles. I come to
Yeah.
work and just do what I do. I think we are at a level, the business itself is at a level where we can maintain the relationships with our existing clients.
Hmm.
We still have an ability to take on a few new clients, but we're not aggressively going out trying to get new
Get new
clients.
clients.
And our existing clients love us.
Right.
I have not, and this is not a BS statement, we have technically 100% retention. I have never lost a client. I've had clients that have bought from other people
Hmm.
because if I don't have the car, very recently somebody bought from a competitor of mine. He called me for, he said, look, don't get mad, but they have a car I wanted, is exactly what I want. Let's go get it. I don't care.
Yeah.
If I get
Yeah.
upset every time a friend didn't buy a car for me or an existing client bought from one of my competitors,
Yeah.
I would have hung myself 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't care. I help them. I'm like, look, that's actually a good car. Buy it. A
Right.
couple times I've stepped in and said, dude, don't buy it.
Hmm.
Like, I can just look online
Hmm.
that that's not a good car. And
Yeah.
that's why they've had it for 10 months. It may be what you think you want because it looks good. It's a shiny new thing to you, and you
Right.
got to have it like a kid on Christmas morning. But if you actually look at it the way that I look at it as an industry veteran, and knowing how to kind of read between the lines when you're looking at what I call digital due diligence on cars,
Yeah.
Carfax, Auto Check. If a car's had like 9 owners and it's been on the market for 10 months and it's been through the auction 3 times in that last 10 months, it's probably not a good car. And
Yeah.
so I have to tell them, I'm like, you want to buy it, buy it. It's your money. But if it
Yeah.
was my money,
Are you against cars like up north, for example, that have been driven up there?
depends on the mileage and where up north.
Really? I've sworn on
No,
everything that
I
I'll
mean,
never buy a car
if
from up
if
north.
if I'm looking at a 2019 911 Speedster with 6,000
Oh
miles,
yeah, something like
I
that. They're
don't
not
care.
driving in the
No,
snow.
I'm not going to buy a 2019, Chevy
X5.
Suburban or X5 with
Yeah.
72,000 miles because that's a car that guy drove in the elements
No.
every day.
Right.
But
That's what I mean.
no,
Cars like that.
I try not to buy smokers' cars. I try not to buy cars that have been in the elements. I have no
Right.
problem with an ultra low mileage
Car.
northern car.
Right.
If I also look, once again, digital due diligence, look at the Carfax. If I see Sag Harbor, New York, and
Mm-hmm.
Palm Beach, Florida,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I call a snowbird. So
Okay.
that's a person who's got a really nice garage at their house in the Hamptons and also has a really nice climate
It's
control
funny how the
garage
Carfax can
at
communicate.
their place in Palm Beach. That's probably not going to have a lot of salt corrosion.
Yeah.
Where if I see a car, that was in Allentown, PA, and it's been an F-150 truck and it's been up there its whole life, it's probably going to have rust.
Ton of rust.
Yeah, we had a Cayenne that came in and it was a consignment car and I had to send it back. Guy was a president of a huge company, all the money in the world with zero common sense.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought his Cayenne was
Everything.
the next best thing. And he shipped it down here and I had to call him and said, look, I got underneath your car and it's got cancer. It's got holes all in it. And I sent him pictures. He said, well, that's impossible. I said, why? He goes, well, because I thought modern cars don't rust. I'm like, well, when they sit in the snow, they do.
Yeah.
And the car sat outside. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it was a relatively, I don't know, 2015, 2016 Cayenne GTS, which is a good car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sent it back. I don't want to deal with it. And, he wasn't happy about it.
Yeah.
So,
So you don't have to discuss this if you don't want to, but off camera you were saying you want to scale. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. But you're saying you want to scale. Like, do you have plans for that, or like, what are your
yeah.
plans?
So, scaling for me is
Are we opening another location, another city, or are we talking about here?
looked into it.
Uh-huh.
Probably not. I like what I have here, but diversifying what this facility can do,
Okay.
which would potentially, I can't confirm or deny, would involve a service facility,
Okay.
ultra high end,
Okay.
maybe restoration as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
I think that's where we're going.
For as far as
I
scale.
do think the pandemic was great
Yeah.
for us, and it's hopefully for the world it never happens again. But like, I don't see us selling 100 cars a month. We were selling 100 cars a month during COVID. It was insane.
Yeah.
And I also had 120 cars in inventory. Now I have 70 cars in inventory. So the
Right.
market's constricted. So for me, just to diversify and do things a little bit differently to scale, then that's what I'm going to do.
Sure.
Second location, I kind of go to like a whole Roman Empire approach to that. Like, you're getting
You built
yourself
yourself.
spread thin.
Okay.
Like, do I do a second location in Atlanta? No, I'm at the crux of 285 and 75. You
Yeah.
can get anywhere in the city from this
They
location
already know where you're at.
in 30 minutes. So what am I, am I gonna go to Cumming and, try to extract all of the people that live on the ultra north side of town?
Mm-hmm.
We looked at it. We looked at doing other cities. I just, when I mean looked at, we were 100% pulling the trigger in another city right before COVID,
Okay.
like January of 19.
Okay.
And it would have involved a lot of commuting, and I'd have to put somebody in the driver's seat that I knew, or I had full faith would run it the way I want it run, because I
Mhm.
can't be in two places at one time.
Mhm.
So for me, it didn't seem it. So for me, the scaling of it are two directions: diversify this existing facility
Mhm.
to do more than just buy, sell cars and maintain or project manage people, or collection management, right? Um, the next level up would be getting a franchise store.
Okay.
So that's ultimately what I probably would do if the
Mhm.
right opportunity came up. I've been looking at stores for 3 years. They just keep going up in price.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, we were really, really close to buying an asset.
Mhm.
I can't say what it was,
Sure.
but we were. It was
Then that opens up
it was
financing.
$100 million acquisition,
Oh, wow.
and we thought we had it in the bag at 100 million, and a private equity came in at the 11th hour and put in a bid at 116.5. So we weren't just like a few million apart. We were $16.5 million apart.
Mm.
So, and this is a dealership entity that traded, the multiple they traded at was like 10x, which is unheard of. Industry standard for us was like 6 to 7.
Okay.
So this was a 10x. So
Wow.
maybe next year 12x is the new normal. So then we might just price ourselves out of the market altogether, and I'll just keep doing it. Like, once again, I like it here.
Yeah, you're
Like,
happy.
we have fun. Like,
Yeah.
we have when I hire somebody new, like, that's the first thing that I ask. Like, you want to have fun?
Yeah.
That's the first question I ask them. Do you want to
100%.
have fun?
Yeah.
Yes. If they can't answer the question, the interview's over.
Right.
If they don't understand the question, the interview's over. If they say no, interview's over. If they say, yeah, I'd like to have, because we have fun. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
these guys are all car nuts.
Yeah. That's
So
what.
like, that RWB came in the other day,
Yeah.
and
They're all
like,
going. They were just going bananas.
that was like Rutledge Wood's car. Like, the car's got a huge internet presence and social media presence. Like, and when this wide body Liberty Walk came in, like, they went nuts. And when the Speciale Aperta came in, like, nuts, because that's such a rare car. And
Yeah,
the
no.
Lambo comes in, like, they all get excited. But then also, like, there's a cheap Mini Cooper in the other warehouse.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, a couple of the guys that work here love those cars, so they get excited over those.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah,
some
yeah.
of the older air-cooled Porsches, or the older R129 body Mercedes SLs. There's kind of like a little something for everybody that works here.
everyone,
And
yeah.
if they're car guys, it's not work.
Right.
When I'm like, oh, here, why don't you do me a favor? We're buying this 6-liter quad cam AMG.
Mhm.
I need you to go drive it. Let me know what you think. Like, make sure everything. Okay.
Like,
yeah.
say less. Yeah.
Yeah, no brainer. Like,
Yeah.
or like the Countach needs to get some exercise. Like, so older carbureted
Get
cars
some
have
exercise.
to be driven, right? The
Yeah,
older
yeah.
carbureted cars. So there's a few cars in this room that do get driven once a week because they have to be.
Right.
So like, it's not like one guy in that office is going to say like, no,
Just don't want.
dude, I got a lot of stuff going on.
Countach
I
around the
don't
block.
want to drive the Countach. I got so much stuff going on.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because it sounds so awful.
Right.
to have the Weber carburetors 3 inches behind your ear. Like, it's torture to drive that car. It sucks.
Yeah.
Or to drive the Carrera GT. Not one guy in this office that said like, oh, I don't want to drive the CGT
Wait,
boss.
you let them exercise that car outside?
We have to. They don't like to sit. So no one's gonna be like, yeah, man, I heard a rumor that the Carrera GT clutch is really finicky and really tricky. So no, I don't want to. I don't want to go. First of all, the exercise is like a tenth of a mile.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah,
tires round, let it warm up, let the fluids get circulating, right? But
yeah.
regardless, no one's gonna say no to that.
Right,
So
right.
that's the fun part of this job. Where
100%.
when I was at the big box retail store, there wasn't a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like it was a shit show, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
It was not, there was no joy in doing it. And like when we get to procure, like we do a lot of like, my wife's turning 50, her dream is to have this car that her dad had. So we'll go find it. And
Mhm.
like we facilitate that. And then when the day they show up here to do it, or when it's a kid turning 16 and they get their first car, or a kid graduates law school, gets their first car,
Yeah.
or when a guy sells his first business. This is a deal we did a couple weeks ago. Sold his business for $1.3 billion.
Mm.
He's 38 years old.
What?
Yeah, 30. I can't say who it is, but like he immediately was like, I wanted this, and this. And we went and got him. And like the look on his face when he comes in here and gets his bucket list car, which I
Yeah.
can't say what it was because we would kind of be able to figure out who it is. And
Sure.
we don't talk about who a lot of our clients
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like that dude was like,
So did that guy buy like a normal car from you like before?
yeah,
How'd you?
yeah, bought a normal car from me years ago.
Yeah.
So that is a guy
What was
who,
the normal car?
it's like a what was it? The base BMW was like a 320, I think is what they called it.
Are you
Like the
serious?
four-cylinder turbo, like a
Yeah.
2016 BMW 3 Series. Yeah. And then he started making a little bit more money, and then he bought a Mercedes GLE 53 AMG.
Okay.
And then he bought a substantial car, and then he bought another substantial car as the business was scaling, and he was
Mhm.
being able to take,
Like a tech company
distributions
or
or.
something, or
Mhm.
is it a tech company? You don't have to say if you don't want to, but
It's not tech. No, it's
okay.
logistics. So it's kind of tech, but it's logistics.
Yeah.
And he, when he sold it, he was like, look, there's a few bucket list cars I got to have, and go get them. And a
That's
couple of the
good.
cars, we already knew where they were. So that
Right.
was the other thing. It's like, so when we maintain these collections, people will call and say like, look, like when you guys were getting set up, a guy came in here and bought that Shelby that was here in the showroom. He's like, listen, if you come across a De Tomaso Pantera,
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted one. Well, I literally just toured a garage in Dawsonville like last week, and there's
What?
three Panteras in that garage, and they're already coming in here anyways. So whether we
Wow.
buy them or consign them, I don't know yet. But like, I literally was like, well, it's funny you should mention that because I happen to know, and
Literally last
I
week.
show them the pictures. So you never know who's going to walk in. And that's the other thing I'll leave you with from a mentor or business advice. You can never in this business never
I
judge a
know.
book by its cover, dude. You'll blow up in your face so quick. I've done
I
it.
mean, the guy that you're
I've done it
talking.
twice.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know.
I did it. One guy. I'll just quick story, and then we got to probably cut it loose because I
Hmm.
got to get back in the office. But this was years ago. I can't say who it is because everybody in Atlanta knows who the guy is. Nevertheless, he calls me up, deep, deep, deep Southern accent,
Okay.
and he wanted to drive. He wanted to come look at an '04 360 Spider I had on
Okay.
consignment. I was selling it on consignment for a client.
Uh-huh.
Yellow, black interior, and he said, "When can I come drive that car?" And I said, "Sir, we can't allow test drives. It's a consignment car. It's an insurance disaster.
Hmm.
If whatever." Nor was I taking him remotely seriously because he didn't sound like the kind of guy that could buy a car like that.
Okay.
So he says, "So you mean that?" Let me clarify this. I'm going to drive. He was an hour outside of Atlanta. I'm going to drive an hour into Atlanta and look at a $200,000 car, and you're telling me I can't drive it before I buy it? I said, not necessarily. You can come look at it, and we can agree that you're gonna buy it, and we can do a contract. You can go get me a certified check, and if we go on a test drive, and God forbid it doesn't perform to expectation or it breaks down, or the check engine light comes on, we'll tear up the contract. You take the check home with you. But just for insurance purposes, I can't just let you drive somebody else's $200,000 car. I don't know how good of a driver you are. These
Hmm.
cars are very dangerous at the limit if you
Now,
don't
were
know
you
how to
saying all
drive.
these things because of the way you were judging him on the phone call, or would that be like
Both. It was the
anybody?
protocol as well. So it's
Yeah.
a combination of like, look, if a guy calls me and says, "Hey, this is Matt Ryan. I'm the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. I'd like to come drive your Ferrari 3." Probably going to be a little bit more willing to bend the rules to let him come look at the car. But I didn't know this
Sure.
guy from Adam.
Yeah.
So long story short, He's like, all right, well, if I can't drive it, I'm going to come look at it. I said, no problem. Really sorry, sir, but that's our SOP. I get a call 3 days later from the Ferrari dealership. Said, hey, do you still have that yellow 360 Spider in stock? I said, yeah. So what's the least you'll take for it? I said, what's consignment car? And I got to net my customer X.
Okay.
They're like, cool, we'll take it. Didn't even negotiate. I was like, okay. They're like, yeah, apparently the guy called you and you wouldn't let him drive it, but he just bought 6 cars from us, so we're just going to buy it on his behalf. You never know.
He just bought 6 cars from him? Dude.
Didn't the last time I ever did that, put it that way.
Oh my
I mean, it
God.
happened the other day. Like a guy came in here and looked homeless and bought a $100,000 SUV from us. But
Wow.
I treated him with respect and answered all his questions. And, he was just literally was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Just a great transaction.
Yeah.
One thing I always teach these guys, and the way I like it is my definition of a good deal is everybody's walking away with a smile on their face.
100%.
That's it. Bad deals, I don't even let them go down. We've had times before where I've put the kibosh on a transaction because I knew the guy was going to walk out of here, either go online and give us a bad review for no cause, because it wasn't because of us that he wasn't happy. He was not happy because he wasn't getting the price that he wanted to pay, right?
Yeah.
Because there's not one review online about Gas Motor Cars as we sold somebody a bad car. The only, I think, 4 bad reviews we have in 25 years are for people that were mad that we sold a car before they could get here to look at it. As if they had some sort of biblical right to the car that they found that they waited 4 days to call on.
To think
Seriously.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll call 4 days after the car gets listed and said, oh yeah, well, I was going to call you the first day, but I got really busy with work. But what do you mean you already sold it? I wanted that car. Sorry.
I mean, yeah.
So that's, the whole back to the smiling thing. Like I don't want any deals to transact where either I'm going to go home in a bad mood or the customer's going home in a bad mood. It's just, there's no value add for that. Like you make $100,000 on the deal.
Yeah.
It's still not worth the blowback, the headache after the fact, or the phone calls or the nasty emails. And knock on wood, we've never been sued. We've never done anything to get us in a position like that. We've had opportunities to.
Yeah.
We've had opportunities to sell really shitty cars.
Yeah.
Like literally, like they look great
Yeah.
cosmetically, but I know that they're not good. So we
Right.
punt. And
Yeah.
I just don't want to mess with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so-
my mentality too. So this is a question that I ask everybody towards the end, and I don't even know if I should ask this question or not to you because I'm looking at some beautiful cars in here. But what I ask is, you have a 4-car garage. What are your dream cars? I feel like you already have your dream cars. That's the problem.
Oh God. I mean, depends on the month, I guess. I mean, I do love Porsche as a brand. They have a pretty cool statistic, I think, percentage-wise. Since they've been building cars since 1948, they have the highest percentage of vehicles that are still running and driving.
Yeah,
So
that's actually an interesting
really
stat.
cool. So, for me, it's probably some sort of badass American muscle car, but resto modded, so modernized.
Like what? Like what's the first car you
Like
think
the
of?
car I've been restoring for 2 years. It's almost done. I was
Okay.
born in 77, so I have a Smokey and the Bandit 77 Trans Am.
Sick.
Black T-tops. I've now spent 2 years, and I won't say how much money making it the perfect Trans Am. So it's got an LS in it now. It's got all
Nice.
custom suspension. It's going to cartoons after it's done at the dyno shop, getting to put all custom audio in it, and that'll be my forever car.
Okay.
So a badass American muscle car, because I
Like that.
was born and raised in Marietta, Georgia, so I'm kind of redneck by default.
All right.
One badass Italian, whether it's a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, it's one or the other. A badass.
You can only choose 4.
No, I said it's one or the other.
Okay,
So
okay.
like I'm either gonna have a badass Italian car or a badass, so Ferrari or Lamborghini.
Okay.
One of the two. I just
Okay.
don't know because I really
You have to choose.
I
That's
have
the whole
to choose.
point.
Then I'm probably, for purpose of usability and collectability, I'm probably getting a Diablo,
Okay.
because that's a car that kind of speaks to me. So
All
all
right.
right, so in order, we have an American muscle car, which I already have, 77 Trans Am.
Right.
We do a Diablo, which I also already own.
Like
So
gated manual.
gated manual, visceral, analog,
Yep.
no bullshit, no
Raw.
nannies, no traction control, just
Yep.
raw.
Yep.
A not ultra modern Porsche, but a water cooled usable Porsche. So 2018, 19,
Okay.
991,
Okay.
whether it's a GT3 or GT3 RS.
Okay.
or a Targa 4 GTS with
Uh-huh.
manual transmission and Irish green, which is the car I'll never sell. So I already got that one there too.
Nice.
And a truck.
And a truck?
And a truck.
A pickup truck?
My F-150. I love my
A
Raptor.
Raptor?
I'll
You don't like
never.
the TRX over the Raptor?
I had them both. I love them for different reasons. It's like restaurants.
Okay.
It's like you go for certain things. If I want raw acceleration, the TRX is pretty much unbeatable.
Yeah.
But my Raptor is a 6-cylinder,
Yeah.
but I've tuned it so it's got like an extra 100 horsepower. It's got an intake, a tune, and exhaust. So
Okay.
like 550 horse. It's not slow,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a usable everyday car.
Yeah.
I would
I
love to say that, oh, I'd like a Pagani Huayra, a Koenigsegg, a, Regera, a Bugatti Chiron, and
like really what do you
a Mercedes, AMG Project One. But those aren't practical cars. I want stuff
Right.
that I can actually go out and drive, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And just the usability of, back to my favorite brand, but I don't want to have 4 Porsches, right? Porsche to me though does make the most usable car.
Yeah.
That you can drive it to work every day. You can take it to the track on the weekends. As they've gotten more modern, you've got, safety feet, you've got lane departure, lane change assist, adaptive
Mhm.
cruise control, backup cameras. I mean, you got all the modern stuff in a car to do 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Like
Yeah.
it gets it done.
Yeah,
It
that's
works,
crazy.
right? But I mean, I'll screw your whole question up, because if you give me a 4-car garage, it's going to be an 8-car garage because I'm putting lifts in it. I'm putting lifts in it.
Oh, that's the
I'm
first
putting
thing
lifts in it
I've done.
immediately.
That's clever. That's smart.
Yeah. It's an 8-car garage. So now we're going to branch out a little bit more, and then that way I can have the Lambo and the Ferrari and the
Yeah.
Porsche and the AMG Mercedes.
That's a good ass answer.
And the Resto Mod and the brand new Z06, which is an unbelievably badass
Are you
car.
serious?
Dude, I love the new Z06.
Yeah, I've
So I can have a little bit, and then I'd probably throw a JDM car in there.
What about the
somewhere.
ZR1 that's coming out?
Haven't driven it yet.
Yeah.
I don't know why you need to go faster than the Z06. The Z06 is white knuckle scary fast.
know.
I haven't sat in one yet. In fact, at Pebble, I don't even recall even seeing one at any of the shows we went to. I didn't see it at Quail. I didn't see it on Sunday.
No, I don't
I
think
just-
they
I don't
dropped
remember
yet.
seeing it.
Yeah,
But I mean,
think
I
they
like,
dropped yet.
like the thing is like I get just one of the kids that works here has his grandfather's '68 Volkswagen Beetle. Like I get just as excited to go look at
Oh
that.
yeah,
Like
I know.
I love the fact that like that car was hand built in the '60s.
It's got a story.
It's got a story. It's gone places. It's probably got 1 million miles on it.
I
Like
know.
it's just different. Like I love this E30 BMW right here, but like it's too collectible to drive.
I know.
It's fast. It's not super fast, but it's quick.
Yeah.
But it's not usable. So I think if I'm gonna have 4 cars, I want 4 usable cars.
Yeah, yeah.
Or 8 usable.
Right, right. You're not gonna take up a spot for a car that's just gonna sit there with that limited number.
I want to drive them.
And 991, you'd go .1 or .2?
.2.
Yeah, because I think there were some challenges with the .1 with the
The
engine.
.1s sound better. The .2s are faster because of the turbos. If it's
So that's one right there, right?
if it's that's a .2 GT3 naturally aspirated though,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't get a GT3 because in my 8-car garage I've got a dedicated track car.
Gotcha.
I love GT3s, but I don't like GT3s around town in Atlanta.
Okay.
I like my GT3 for the track.
Track.
Yeah,
Right.
that's where it belongs.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
full-blown race car. Neat thing about the Speciale, not just the Speciale Pinto, but Speciales and the GT3s is they both share a called genealogy of where they really are the track car.
Mm-hmm.
They just have air conditioning. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, the engines are the same.
Yeah,
A lot of the suspension stuff is identical. The glass is the same.
yeah,
Like, so the track car should be on a track.
yeah.
I mean, me personally, I've had them. I don't
So I
like
thought the
driving
GT3
GT3s
was-
around town.
Yeah, I thought the GT3 you could kind of daily it more, but take it to the track, and this GT3 RS.
I
is like-
mean,
only track.
lots of guys can daily their GT3s. I'm just not one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's too raw. It doesn't have a back
Yeah.
seat. I got 2 kids.
Yeah. Well, man, I really appreciate your time
Fun.
once again, man. It was
Totally
a
fun.
pleasure. First time we were able to shoot the podcast in a incredible backdrop here. I really appreciate your time. So anybody that's out there, if you guys are in the market for a luxury or exotic, feel free to, hit up Gas Motor Cars. They've got nothing but the best cars here. And feel free to reach out to me if you need anything to, locate, sell any cars. I'd be happy to do that for you as well. But stay tuned for the next episode, and thank you for your time. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.